In the wake of a controversial and fiercely disputed presidential election on July 28, 2024, Venezuela finds itself engulfed in a storm of protests, violence, and widespread uncertainty. The streets of Caracas and beyond are boiling over with anger as citizens clash with security forces, driven by a deep-seated frustration with a regime that has held them in its grip for over a decade. At the heart of the turmoil is Nicolás Maduro, the authoritarian leader who has ruled Venezuela since 2013. His victory, announced by the National Electoral Council, CNE, an institution many accuse of being little more than a puppet of Maduro's regime, has been met with widespread disbelief and rejection both at home and abroad. The official results declared Maduro the winner with 51.2% of the vote, but opposition leaders and numerous international observers are challenging this outcome, claiming that their own tallies suggest a very different reality. For many Venezuelans, this election was seen as a critical turning point, a chance to reclaim their country from the devastating economic collapse and political repression that have become hallmarks of Maduro's rule. The opposition, led by former diplomat Edmundo González, was riding a wave of popular support with the promise of revitalizing Venezuela's democracy and rebuilding its shattered economy. But those hopes were dashed when the CNE announced that Maduro had secured another 6-year term, a result that has plunged the nation into chaos. The opposition has alleged widespread electoral fraud, pointing to numerous irregularities on election day, including the arrest of key opposition figures, the barring of their most popular leader, Maria Corina Machado, from running, and the denial of access for opposition witnesses at crucial points in the vote-counting process. The CNE's refusal to release the final vote tallies only adds to the suspicion that something is gravely amiss. The aftermath of the election has been nothing short of explosive. At least 11 people have been killed in the ensuing protests, and more than 1,000 have been detained, according to human rights groups. The streets of Caracas have become battlegrounds, with tear gas and Molotov cocktails lighting up the night as demonstrators face off against heavily armed security forces. Maduro, for his part, has dismissed the protests as the work of criminals and foreign agents, vowing to crush any attempt to overthrow his government. His military, long a loyal supporter of the regime, has reaffirmed its allegiance, with Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez branding the protests an attempted coup d'etat. This is not the first time Venezuelans have risen up against their government, but the stakes now feel higher than ever. The country's economy is in tatters, with hyperinflation, widespread food and medicine shortages, and a mass exodus of citizens fleeing to neighboring countries. The prospect of another 6 years under Maduro's rule is unbearable for many, and there is a palpable sense that this may be their last chance to force a change. Internationally, reactions have been mixed. While many Western nations, including the United States and several European countries, have condemned the election as fraudulent and called for a transparent recount, Maduro has found support from his usual allies, Russia, China, Cuba, and Iran, who have congratulated him on his victory. The geopolitical divide over Venezuela's future is stark, and the outcome of this crisis could have far-reaching implications beyond its borders. In the days ahead, the situation in Venezuela is likely to escalate further as both sides dig in their heels. For the Venezuelan people, who have already endured years of hardship and oppression, the path forward is fraught with danger. But in the face of such overwhelming odds, they continue to fight, driven by a desperate hope that they might still be able to reclaim their country and their future. This is a developing story, and as events continue to unfold, the world watches, waiting to see what will become of a nation on the brink.